On this week's episode, we're at the Silver Lake Sand Dunes in Mears, Michigan. This place is a gearhead's paradise. You see a little bit of everything out here. You see cool stuff, all kinds of high horsepower machines. Some of these hills are so big you can't make it up. Some of them you can go right up and over, but a lot of them are straight down on the other side, so you really got to watch what you're doing out here. So in about 1993, 94-ish, I can't remember exactly what year, I built this dune buggy using an old International Scout. My wife and me had an old Scout we were parting out because growing up we used to do a lot of stuff with old Scouts, and we'd part them out and sell parts off from them. And we took it out in the field, and the doors was falling off, dragging the ground, and we were hanging on to each other so we wouldn't fall out of it, just having a riot bouncing around in the field. So we decided to make an all-purpose dune buggy. So we built this thing, and then of course we put the bigger tires on for flotation up here in the sand, but it's an old International Scout. Moved the motor back a little bit to get a little bit better weight distribution. And back then I didn't have a round tube bender, so everything was made out of square pipe. But pretty durable old machine. I sold it about 15 years ago to some friends, and Rob and Steve, and about 2 or 3 weeks ago they decided that they thought my son JJ ought to have the thing back, since I built it back in the early 90s, so they actually gave it back to JJ. They weren't playing with it anymore. It's kind of a rough ride, and they gave it back to my son JJ. He's having a blast with it. Back in 2004, my kids were getting a little bit older. JJ was roughly about 5 years old. Daisy was about 2 years old. And the old orange buggy wasn't going to work anymore because with 2 little kids, you couldn't haul them. So I took and built this thing. This started out as an old Chevy Impala front. I used the front frame clip, so I had the front suspension. I used an old International Scout rear end. And then I built a tubular frame in between, and then did the roll cage, and found this old fiberglass tub dune buggy body and took and stretched it, and the fiberglass in the middle, added the hood scoop and everything for the room, and used a small block Chevy out of that Impala. So it's got a 350 Chevy with a 350 turbo transmission and a Dana 44 rear axle with a 488 gear ratio in it. And this thing has worked great ever since. Painted it with a retro flame paint job with a bunch of pearl and candy paint. This yellow was a home brew color that I come up with just messing around, and it's almost like, it's not a glow in the dark, but it's pretty close. The thing's super bright out here. Everybody knows it's me. 2018, my crew of guys and myself, we put this Ford truck together for a family cruiser out here. So now we can come out in the dunes when we want, even if it's raining or nasty weather. We basically gave it a 6-inch lift by dropping all the spring hangers. We kept the factory springs, so it has a little bit better ride. It's somewhat soft. And we built the wheels and the brush guard, and then I went kind of nuts on the metal flake. I love metal flake and stuff, so I went with an orange and a yellow metal flake with some lime green and some red for the flames, and wanted something that everybody knew it was us. And this works out great for my wife, Jody and Daisy. They get to cruise around a lot in this, and they enjoy it because they're not out in the wind all the time, and if it's raining, they can be in where it's dry. Okay, there's a couple things you need in the sand dunes. One is a flag on the front of the buggy or your truck or car, whatever you're driving, and that helps at the top of the hill, so if somebody's coming from the other direction, you can see them coming. Some other things at the sand dunes that you need, one's a seat belt for sure. They won't let you in without a seat belt, and it's a non-alcoholic park, so which is really a good thing. You shouldn't be drinking and driving out here, especially with all the obstacles. But one of the main things a lot of people don't understand is flotation. With your tires, you have to let air pressure out of them to get them to float. So a lot of guys, they think they can drop their tire down to like 16, 12, or 15, 16 pounds air pressure. They think they're going to do good. Well, you don't. What I'm running in this truck right now is 5 pounds air pressure. What that does is it allows the tire to almost create a cup underneath of it, and it gets you your flotation. This sand is very, very soft. It's a very powdery, clean sand. But you can see how much that tire's bulging because we've got it pretty flat.